Unbelievable, man.
Hi, Dave.
Hey, Michael. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Drumeo Edge Live. We have Michael Schack, straight from Belgium. I was told not to say Germany. I hear you don't.
No. Belgium, Antwerp, Belgium.
Antwerp, Belgium. So you're here for a Drumeo lesson, and before we even get going, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself? How long have you been playing for? What made you start deciding to play electronics and all that kind of stuff?
Well, when I started, drumming at a rather young age, I had my first drum set when I was 11. I was always interested in electronic stuff like drum computers, the first drum computers, the first samplers. I was saving for cymbal stands and a small sampler at the same time when I was really young.
Yeah.
I was totally digging playing along with those first hip-hop recordings where they used the Linn drums and the early samples and so on.
Yeah.
And in the beginning of the 90s, I got a phone call from Roland in Belgium that they were coming out with this new electronic drum set, which was a Roland TD7, and if I wanted to be a demonstrator, because I spoke French and Dutch at the same time, so they were looking for a young drummer who was bilingual. And I said, yeah, I want to try out this drum set, and I immediately fell in love with the contrast between acoustic drums and electronic drums.
Yes.
And I was really interested in electronic music anyway, so that's how it got started. It was not just a choice of professional direction, but also a musical choice.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. Cool. So that's what we're talking about today. It's playing with electronics, and you are just you own all this gear here, not just like physically, but you're master at it, and you have a really good sense of where to add little things, and that's what we're going to talk about today, about how to add electronics into your playing. Quick question for me: do you actually still play acoustic quite a bit, or do you maybe?
Absolutely. I still I have my Ludwig Vistelite drum sets. I use minor cymbals.
Cool.
But it changed a little bit because last year, for instance, instead of doing like 50% of the performances, live performances with electronic drums and 50% acoustic, last year, out of the 200 concerts I played, only 2 of them were with acoustic drums. It depends on the artists. And since I joined Netsky Live, of course, combined with the other stuff, electronic stuff, I was already doing by myself, which is called Square Electric. And then also I'm playing in Belgium with a dance formation, which is called Milking. So there was not too much time left to actually also continue doing the acoustic gigs.
Gotcha.
And I have no problem with it because for me it's just a drum set.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. When they ask a guitar player, they just tell him you're a guitar player.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that he's playing acoustic or electric guitar, they're called guitar players. With drummers, still, it's a little bit different story. They look at electronic drummers as they look at Tupperware players or anything.
Yep.
But with the popularity of electronic music, there's no way back.
Yeah.
It's just a drum set.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, that's what we're going to touch on a little bit more. This lesson is going to go by really fast, so I want to get into it. But just to let you guys know, if you do have questions regarding just electronics in general, just questions for Michael, get them in now because we're not going to have a lot of time for questions, although we'll do our best. And if you guys haven't checked out, right now you're on tour with Netsky.
Yeah.
And you're doing a North American tour. Basically, you're telling me every show is almost sold out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going really well. And it's awesome to be able to play drum and bass music, which is normally, played by DJs or just drummers playing on top of the DJ mixing the tracks. Completely live. Also our keyboard player, everything is live. Netsky himself, he's doing all the hooks live.
Unreal.
So it's quite an adventure.
Yeah, unreal. So if you guys haven't checked it out, go on YouTube, check out Netsky, check out some of Michael Schack's drumming. It's incredible. And we're also going to talk about towards the end how you can keep up that energy for a drum and bass show because you're playing an hour-and-a-half set sometimes of just non-stop. And we're also going to talk about endurance and stuff. So let's start from the very top and let's just talk about your kit right now. What kind of a setup do you have going on here?
This is the amazing Roland TD30 drum kit.
Yep.
It's the latest flagship model of the Roland program. And what is really amazing about it is it's the fastest kit on the market. Because you still have a processor inside the module. So the translation between hitting the pad with your drumstick and the sound coming out needs to be as minimal as possible. So they're it's not a Windows system, sorry.
So
you need to be as fast as possible, especially when you play higher tempo music, like for instance metal or drum and bass, which is average 173, 175 BPM. You need the immediate reaction of all the sounds you want to play. On top of this, with the TD30, I also have the ability to really go deep into the cymbals. You know, there's this engine inside which is called Supernatural, and it actually understands everything I want to do. Like with on an acoustic kit, for instance, if you play a ride, you want to go a little bit deeper, well, the sound will react accordingly. Most important, it's just a drum set. So I'm using the same drumsticks, the same Adidas All-Star, Nike Reeboks that you play on an acoustic set. And this is my main desk, my main office. With Netsky as well as with Square Electric, I'm also using 2 electropads or multipads. This is the SPDSX, which is a sampler. You can use it for triggering extra kicks and snares, which are very particular, or you can trigger it for loops, like I just did. And with this one, we will get to this one a little bit later, because these two are totally different. Yeah.
Okay, sure. Sounds cool. Now, we kind of had a little bit of a breakdown of what we've got to do. I just want to hear you play, though, the whole time. Can you just play for an hour instead? I don't want to... okay, so show us exactly, because we want to talk about how you can incorporate this kind of stuff into your playing, or how you can, as a drummer, play an electric kit without having that sense, oh, it's an electric kit, or it's different, you know? So,
well, this is, for instance, the new Supernatural engine. Will show you how I can play the snare drum on this kit.
Sure, sure.
What's important here is that even you know, all of us drummers have 2 hands, right hand and left hand. On an acoustic setup, they won't exactly sound the same. Same here. So that gives you a very, very natural feeling. But on top of that, since it's an electronic kit, you can take this as a bass, you know, this acoustic drum sound as a bass. I can use, for instance, 2 hi-hat setup. And then, when we take it a little bit further, I can also do things that are not possible with an acoustic drum set. For instance, tap sequence. And play a cymbal, like a piggybacked China cymbal at the same time. Do pitch shifting. By opening and closing a hi-hat, I still keep. You know, there's a lot of people that think that this is new. Choking cymbal sounds on an electronic drum set, but it's been around for the last 20 years or something. So there you can go a little bit further and take the acoustic things you play on an acoustic kit on an electronic kit.
Very cool. So it's not just mainly about, oh, what the specific role and kick you do. It's just what you can do as a drummer on an electron, adding electronics into your playing. And what you're doing there with that little filter almost, that's something a DJ would normally do. Now you're taking the role of that.
Yeah, it's just pitch shifting. You know, when I close the hi-hat, it will pitch down the sound which I assigned on this cymbal pad. But at the same time, thanks to the processing in those electronic drum sets of today, you can do many things at the same time. And I decide the tempo. And after a couple of Red Bulls, it's great physical workout at the same time.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. I can see that. Cool. What about incorporating some of the more of the pads? Like I know you were talking about with we were doing a little demo before the lesson, and you were showing me how by adding like a bass, kind of electronic bass sound to it with an acoustic kit. Do you want to?
Well, that's actually why playing electronic drums is not just a matter of keeping the neighbors, happy with less drum noise in the neighborhood or whatever. I use these things on stage, and actually it's my profession. I need these tools to be able to play with the artists I'm playing with. For instance, let's have some kind of dance sound going on. It's a sequence.
Yeah.
When I hit the bass, which is coming from the SPDSX, it's only the bass that's coming from here. Okay?
Yep.
I will first play it with, some kind of acoustic sounds.
Okay.
Okay? You were nodding your head, but in the audience, today people really want to go totally wild with the right kick sounds and the right bass all fitting together. So this is not very interesting. But this
still sounded good to me.
Yeah, but it's not the complete thing. It's
Okay.
like playing acoustic guitar in a Metallica sound for a song for the rest of your life.
Good analogy.
This is the true thing.
Yeah.
That's
totally.
the difference between, yeah, it's nice, or it's sound.
Night and day difference. And I just want to allude to something else. When we were talking about doing this lesson, we always only have in-ears in the studio here because we have an acoustic kit for the most part. But one of the things that you really wanted to make sure of was that you had some sort of a monitor in here so you can kind of feel. So we brought in, it's the Roland KC550.
Yeah, it's a KC550. It's a keyboard amp, and it just gives me a little bit of low end, like playing with a PA in a hall. The thing is, if you want to make the people dance, the drummer needs to start dancing by himself first.
Yes.
That's the main thing. Any music style you play, if a drummer dances, the chances of the people and the other musicians actually dancing on your beat, it's much bigger.
Yeah.
And that's why you need this particular kick sound with this particular bass sound. That's why you need these particular hi-hat sound, for instance, with this one as well. If I just play like this, it will sound okay by itself, but big difference with this one. And main thing is, it's the same movement. It's just the same drumming techniques. It's just the sound fitting the music.
Yeah, and that's so important. I know, especially in that style of music. And I think it's like a lot of drummers that, and I'm guilty of this too. I have a couple songs I love that are in the dance R&B or the dance electronic kind of genre. But when I practice them, it's always on an acoustic kit. I don't even think of, as long as I'm doing the right patterns on my hands, I think that's all I need to do.
Yeah.
But the sound is so important. Making sure you have that. Those
and when you
options.
have a good sound, you start moving along with your sound, and you're actually playing. It's the most incredible and most inspiring feeling to play a kick drum and at the same time feel the kick coming back to you, and then sort of beaming it to the people that are in front of the stage. They start moving on it. You get a lot of energy back from them, and then it's like one big party. And that's how you can last for, let's say, for 90 minutes without even feeling tired because everybody's having such a good time and really in the groove together. That's what I like a lot about, you know, playing this kind of drum kit.
Yeah, and just another question for me that I had is when you practice at home, do you have the whole PA set up so you can feel it, or are you just doing in-ears yourself? Or
Yeah, I'm using a headphone with a small subwoofer.
Okay.
Or when I'm in the studio, I'm using my studio headphone. Or I have also, in order to really be able to tweak your sounds for live use, I also have a PA which fits my room to check the sound levels and the balance and so on real speakers. Because there's a big difference in between practicing and tweaking sounds with a headphone, which will give you a good sound here, but it will never sound very good in a total mix with a band or on a PA speakers. You really need to be able to do both.
Okay.
But that's a little bit of the sound addict in me that is speaking. You know, it's of course most of our drummers, us drummers, are sound freaks. Everybody has its own cymbal make and its own tastes and its own tune, and you know.
Yeah.
But for the electronic kit, it's even more important because the kick sound can't be too low or too heavy because you still have other bass going on in the track, and they really need to glue together. You can really, just by using the wrong kick sound or the wrong snare, you can really blow the vocals away, for instance, because that's how powerful these electronic sounds of today are. And all those big talented producers really spend a lot of time on getting all the frequencies right, and I think drummers should do the same thing.
Spend a bit more time and
spend a little bit more time, you know, getting to a personal sound, and at the same time, when you have your personal sound, you'll be having also your personal moves because they inspire you. It's like fuel for your body.
Gotcha. Absolutely. Okay, talk about another way you can incorporate these electronics. I know we had a couple different demos that you had lined up.
Yeah. This, for instance, is a very simple example of how you can combine more acoustic style sounds with electronic style sounds, which is only possible with electronic drums. For instance, this is a very nice, very neutral but very powerful electronic bass drum sound. And I use it with, I'm going to combine it with a more acoustic snare. But when I hit the rim, you hear that there's a clap on there. It's a little bit of a layering effect. So when I play this one, for instance, or okay, it stresses the backbeat. Now, when I play 4 on the floor, it gets even more interesting. This is full, then. And automatically I move a little bit different.
Yeah.
If you have another hi-hat coming in, you can do more stuff. I layered it with a tambourine.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So you can really dance and fool around with the sounds, make your own drum sets, and then, for instance, with some sampling, like here on the SPD-SX, you can take it a little bit further.
It's like a sleep twitch, twitch, twitch. Support Detroit. I love this city.
Awesome. Very cool.
And it's a really great thing that you can actually hit someone, like for instance. without them complaining at the same time. So this is what I do at home. You know, for Square Electric, for instance, I do a lot of mashups and try to find with my co-partner Steve a good way to make some live drumming into a DJ format.
Yeah.
So it's all played live, and the best thing is that you can interact with the people just using the kick drum. And then, for instance, so I'm in total control.
Yeah.
But this kick sound actually fits the music and the bass that's coming out there.
Yeah.
So I really spend time on getting the right combinations of sounds.
Now, you obviously have spent a ton of time practicing just the craft of drumming, your technique, your fingers, your speed, your wrists, your feet, and all that. But obviously, you have to spend a lot of time, just like you were talking about, I guess you can say, planning all the tracks, getting the right sounds and stuff. How much time would you spend doing that outside of practice?
Sometimes it's 5 minutes, and another, you know, on another mashup and a combination of sounds, I will be working like 1 day, maybe. It really depends how far you want to go. The most important thing is that in the end, the result has to be credible and has to sound in a big PA as well as in your headphones. So it's a little bit of trial and error, but I like this, you know, because this way you come up with your personal sound on an electronic drum set.
Yes. I like what you said there, has to sound good in a big PA as well as your headphones too, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's not really easy for people at home to have this kind of setup, but just 2 good speakers, 2 good studio monitors, and maybe a little subwoofer can already make a big difference. And this way you will be having much more fun, you know, using this kit live on the stage, because everything fits.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the most important. You know, it's not only about drumming, but it's also about sound. Even with acoustic drums, it's about combining your body with the reaction of the cymbals and the toms and so on, and making music with it. And there's a lot of people, of course, that look at electronic drums then like they look at computers, but so many people are using computers in the most creative ways today. It's just a tool.
Yeah.
And that's how you have to look at these instruments as well. They have a personality, but you can take that personality a lot further when you put yourself into it.
Absolutely.
And for this one, that's why I like the Roland V drums so much, because they give me the ability to not bother with triggering issues and so on, and go directly into the sound.
Very cool stuff. Before we move on to the next section, I want to talk about that SPDX a little bit there. So you've now talked a little bit about just the different dynamics and stuff you can do on the kit alone. Now the SPD sampling pad, you've loaded all those tracks in yourself, right?
Yeah. There's of course some things I sampled, but I also make my own sounds.
Yeah.
And for this particular SPDSX, I made some of the presets as well for Roland.
Okay.
The one I'm gonna show you now is actually a personal one, and it's a combination of a guitar player, a very good friend of mine, Marty Townsend. He's actually Californian. He played the guitar riff that goes something like this. Now, before you get to the and playing along with this, you need to be able to play with loops, and it needs practice. In the beginning, when I started playing, I was like all over the place.
Yeah.
But through experience and through practice and through enjoying playing along with loops, you get to a point where your body doesn't think about the click anymore. So actually, the click for me is my best friend. Also for Netsky, for instance, we have to use a click.
Okay, yeah.
And I practice it like this, for instance.
I'll give you plenty. Get on your knees. Make me
unbelievable.
It's fun.
It's so much fun. All I want to do, I want to steal that from you. I want at least all your tracks. I just want
It's going to cost you, though.
It's going to cost me. I'm sure it will. That is awesome. Before we, oh man, I have so many questions that I want to ask, and I know we have so many that are coming in from the members, but before we move on, I just wanted to talk a little bit more about what we were talking about before the lesson, and that's how we should focus on being a drummer first, rather than being an electronic kit player, rather than an acoustic drummer. Do you want to talk about that just a little bit?
It's very simple. There's no difference for me in between a drummer really playing his ass off on an acoustic set or an electronic set. There's no difference to me for, in between a guitar player who's awesome on an acoustic guitar or who's really rocking on an electric guitar. It's a guitar player. Same goes for drummers. And today we have the ability, thanks to the electronically advanced tools we have today, instruments we have today, to become very personal. Like I said before, not only sound-wise, but movement, anything. So I think drumming, some of those drummers out there are really conservative. Because when you look at all the big festival lineups, when you look at all the things that are happening online on YouTube and so on, you see so many people at the same time being a fan of Metallica and Rage Against the Machine and Foo Fighters and Queens of the Stone Age. And at the same time, they're going to these dance festivals, electronic music festivals, enjoying drum and bass concerts. They like Pendulum, they like Netsky, they like Knife Party, they like every kind of music. The choices are diverse. So should be the instruments. So for me, a drummer is a drummer, despite what he plays. A percussionist who plays congas can also play bongos. He can play Afro-Cuban, he can play, maybe he plays a little bit of tabla. For me, he's a great percussion player. He's just a musician. Same here.
Cool.
That's actually a big switch in thinking that has to be made by lots of drummers out there. Of course, sometimes when you don't like some kind of music, it's not a problem. It's your personal choice. But it doesn't mean that the drummer who's playing this kind of music is a bad drummer.
Or is not a musician.
That's the thing. You just don't like it. That's a big difference. And once you have this kind of philosophy, you start discovering many different things that could help you to become a better drummer in your specialty, in your music style.
Absolutely.
Because when I can play blues, I used to play with blues guys in Antwerp, in Belgium, and I played shuffles like this. So, in this song, for instance,
so cool,
just, have a bass pattern that's really a bit bluesy and combine it in these samplers. Why not? And just enjoy playing the drums.
Cool. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about incorporating electronics into your play? We talked about adding in samples. We talked about playing with the click, making the click your friend. We talked about just changing the sounds up, mixing your actual internal dynamics on the kit itself. Anything else you wanted to touch on?
Yeah, of course. One very important thing is, how do you practice with these drums? And it's, especially with the techniques of today, which I already mentioned, it's really very much possible to become a good drummer on an electronic kit as well. There's lots of parents that sometimes go into a music store and the sales guy will tell them, even the older sales guy will tell them, you don't play, electronic drums as a young student. You have to go for an acoustic drum set. Yeah, maybe that's his experience, but I see a lot of young drummers who started down on those small electronic kits today that are actually then switching over to acoustic sets as well, but they never get rid of their electronic drum set because it makes them just play, even late at night. The most important thing about being a drummer is moving. If you stop moving, you're not practicing. I don't have a lot of practice routine, but I play a lot on stage, and for me that's already 50–60% of my practice, because you're actually moving, you're staying in shape, you're making music, and at the same time you're actually doing your moves. So it's all about this kind of attitude that could change the young drummer's life. Doesn't matter if you do it on an electronic or acoustic setup, you just have to play.
Yeah, and I know like there's a ton, I would say close to 30, maybe 40%, could even be more of our members that only have electric kits.
It's possible.
Yeah, and I get questions all the time. It's like, can I play the same thing on, or here's a great question I get is, I want to sign up for Drumeo Edge, but I only have an electric kit. Is it going to be okay? Of course, like a lot of the stuff you practice is the same. And in fact, on this lesson, guys, if you download the PDF below, there's a 2-page PDF, and one of them is called Killer Beats, one of them is called Killer Workouts. And they are exercises that Michael has given us, shared with us, and you're going to go through them a little bit at least.
Yeah.
And they're great ways to just keep your endurance up because, I mean, look, he's playing this energy full throttle for 90 minutes a night. That doesn't take, or that doesn't come easy, and it takes some practice to get to. So let's start with killer warm-ups.
Yeah, it's a very simple thing that I practiced the paradiddles and so on myself. But in the end, I came up with this one, which is probably I stole it from somewhere.
Okay, sure, yeah.
But that's a nice thing. You can steal from anyone and just act as if it's yourself. That you just have to find the good variations. Yeah. Anyway, this is an exercise that helped me a lot getting tight on the drum set.
Okay.
And the most difficult problem with all drummers is that your right and your left hand are not exactly the same. I don't have the ambition to have right and left hand exactly the same. My left hand can do things that are not sounding with my right hand and different. So this killer warm-up is a very simple exercise, and it's not a single stroke, it's not a double stroke, it's just tapping 4 groups of 4 notes with one hand, right for instance, and then answering with 4 groups of 4 notes, 16ths, with your left hand.
Okay.
Most important, play an accent in the beginning. So it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Now, with this very simple exercise, you can do so many things. For instance, let's play the accents on the toms. But let's divide our drum set into 2 parts. This is for your left hand, my right hand. This is for the other side.
Okay.
So 1, 2, 3, 4. Very simple thing. Instead of spending $50 or $60 on videos about molar technique, for instance, you can actually discover it yourself.
Yeah.
At the same time. Now let's take it one little further, which is putting the accents on the cymbals. Now the most important thing here is playing the kick drum underneath. If you want to become a tight drummer to your musicians and to the audience, you have to be able to do this. And there's too many drummers that still sound like this.
Yeah.
Or not on purpose.
No,
okay?
of course, yeah.
So this same exercise. 4, 1. Now, accents. Groups of 3, groups of 2.
Yeah.
And you start moving, and you also start actually memorizing, your body starts memorizing the positions of all your instruments.
Absolutely.
So that's the first step. That's that killer concept.
Yeah, and if you guys look at the sheet music, there's 1 to 5 on that killer warm-up. So definitely check them out. Try in different ways, like you were talking about on the cymbals, on the toms, wherever the accent is, basically, right?
Yeah, just on the accents, groups of 4, accent in the beginning. Groups of 3, accent in the beginning. You can also end with an accent. For instance, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Whatever you want to do.
Okay, cool. And you do this before a show type of thing, or is it something?
Yeah, I do it on a pillow or whatever, and I'm warmed up.
Cool.
Yeah. 3 minutes is enough.
Yeah.
Just to make everything loose. There's a lot of drummers that are doing like this all the time. It's totally wrong.
Okay.
It's totally wrong.
Yeah.
Because the only thing that will happen is that your blood goes completely into your arm and it lumps. You know, it makes it a little bit lump. No. If you need to warm up, you need to warm up the grip of your stick. So when your girlfriends are all there on the first row during the first song, you're not stressing yourself. Hey, I'm here. No, you have to be loose.
Yeah. All right. Well, that brings us to the killer beats section.
Yeah,
I guess you could say.
because it's like a follow-up on the last one.
Okay.
So we had our left hand. For me, my snare hand is my left hand. So we were doing it like this.
Yeah.
Now I want to play a backbeat with this. So I'm gonna, instead of playing the accent on every count, I'm gonna play it on the 2 and the 4.
Okay.
1, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Or ring. 2, 1, 2. Now let's bring in 8 notes on the hi-hat. And in the beginning, it's a little bit awkward feeling.
Yeah.
But the nice thing is, you learn how to play ghost notes.
Yeah, you have to, I guess.
You have to have lots of difference between the accent and the ghost notes. Then bring in the bass drum. 1, 2, 3. And then you can start variations.
That is a killer
And it becomes
workout.
really funky.
Yeah, no kidding.
And then when you play drum and bass, everything is there.
Oh, man. Cool. And there's a couple different variations of that, too, that you guys can take and practice that. But yeah.
For free.
For
And when a
free.
Belgian gives something for free, take it.
Does that not happen too often? Is that why?
No, just
Okay, take it.
euros.
Yeah. What's your PayPal email? Is that what we can do? Just to get people to PayPal you?
I'm not going to tell you my PayPal.
Okay.
Not today.
Not today. We got 20 minutes left.
Great.
So I want to talk a little bit more about the kind of setup you have, because we haven't really talked a lot about this side right here, the SPD30. Now, this is a setup that, and I'm sure we're going to have questions. I know I look into the actual questions inbox, and there's tons. And I know some of them in there are talking about how do you actually come up with those loops that you play? How do you, because I mean, on your SPDS-X there, all those patterns that he has, some of them were guitar loops and stuff, but some of them are actually percussion loops.
Yeah, whatever you want. It's a sampler, so it's actually audio material. What you can do is, for instance, everybody has lots of music on the computer. With the software, you can actually drag and drop songs or bits of songs or whatever. You can download stuff legally and then drop it onto the SPDS pads. And even since there's 2 layers, you can actually combine vocals with things you never would have thought you could combine it with. I will do some play some other examples at the end.
Sure.
But this is completely different.
Okay.
Because this is actually not a sampler.
All right.
So all the sounds, percussion sounds, synth sounds, are already in there. But this has an incredible phrase looping function, which enables me, instead of triggering pre-prepared audio, which I can loop, I just start from scratch.
So you create your loops in this.
Yeah.
All the sounds are already in there.
Yeah. And you can do completely wild things, because depending on your mood and playing and what you can combine, because here again, all the sounds can be layered on each and every one of the pads. You can layer 3 different sets. You can combine bass sounds with some very nasty marimba melodies you come up with, very experimental stuff. Anything you can phrase loop and then play along. So
Sweet.
I'm using it a little bit as a stand-up drum set as well.
Okay.
For instance, you can have some dubstep. And this is a really important one because everybody just... So what I can do is actually combine it, for instance, with some aerobic percussion.
Sure.
Or, for instance, do some kind... And here it comes again, that killer. You know,
Yes, the left hand.
ghost notes,
Yeah.
accents really there, and ghost notes to make it very vibrant in the mid range, in the low end, or whatever you want. So let's combine these into a loop.
Okay.
Okay, now I'm choosing tempo 155 right now.
Okay.
As soon as I start playing, it will record my performance.
Oh, cool.
And 3,
So good.
another one. Now, let's make it more interesting.
Unreal. My goodness.
That's fun.
Yeah.
So you are actually playing your own loops, playing along with them. It inspires you. You come up with great musical ideas. And it's not just about playing along with samples or a click track, but you're actually being creative at the same time. That's
So you don't play this live. You don't usually bring this out live with you, do you?
yes, actually,
do?
on the Netsky setup, Boris Netsky,
Yeah.
you know, the main guy, is actually playing this for some melodic stuff.
Cool.
With Square Electric, I have 2 of these that are triggering the mashups. And at the same time, thanks to the very fast USB out, MIDI USB out on both the SPDSX and this one, I can trigger video clips at the same time.
No way.
So it's not only about the sounds in there, but it's also the peripherals. You know, you can go outside of the box.
So it has video
triggering
output
lights.
on that, or does it have video output on that? What?
No, it's just MIDI USB,
Just the
and you can trigger a laptop with
Gotcha.
video content,
Unreal.
and you will be the drummer. And my partner Steve with Square Lake, for instance, is doing the video at the same time. But I'm actually starting the video clips, and he can adjust the timing and do video effects, audio effects at the same time while I'm playing.
Very
So
cool.
but this is like the cockpit,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
he's the engine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah.
So you have to really know your gear. I mean, even just all the different pads. I know the SPDSX has 9 pads, right? Is it 9 plus a foot?
Yeah,
foot
but
switch?
you can add extra pads with this one as well. You can add a kick trigger like
Yep.
I did here.
Yep.
But you can also, which is really convenient, for instance, add some cymbal pads. You can even connect a hi-hat and use it as a small drum setup
Cool.
and
Yeah.
go out busking on Saturday afternoon and make your money with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, do you want to talk about that foot technique that you did where you triggered everything with your Nikes there or your Adidas? Do you want to talk
What
about
do you
that?
mean?
When you lifted your foot up and you triggered.
Oh, yeah. So it's very simple. Let me show you again. whatever.
So just have it set to whatever pad, I guess, eh?
Yeah, yeah.
So you can hire, literally, you can hire a monkey to come
And the
and
big
do-
difference with David Guetta is this is live.
Yes.
It's not like checking emails, standing on stage like many of the DJs, you know, checking emails on their laptops while
Pretending
a
that
USB
they're
stick.
mixing.
Yeah. This is live.
I
And
guess
that's what drummers can do.
I think that's what the coolest thing about, especially when you're talking to me on email about your shows with Netsky, and when I was watching the videos, I was so impressed because the audio and the sound sounded just like a DJ mix, but then you have real musicians up there.
Actually, it's more than that. Netsky really took a risk there.
Yeah.
Because being a DJ, a successful DJ, he could have gone the easy way. The thing is that he wanted live musicians playing his music.
Absolutely.
But
yeah.
he's himself used to be a drummer in his young years.
Oh, no.
So he has the right timing, and he also, you know, figures out all the keyboard parts when he's writing the songs. So taking it live for him was a big risk because, of course, more traditional drum and bass purists will say, "Hey man, it should be about DJ sets only. It's not good to have a drummer and a keyboard player on stage." But you have so much more things going on. You have a lot of dynamics. We can do intros, outros. We can surprise people just starting to play a bit suddenly and so on. So it's just playing live music, and that's actually a big difference with the cliche of looking at electronic music as only being programmed. It's music, and any music you can program, you should be able to play it live.
I agree 100%. And it's, for me, being able to see the musicians do it, it brings a new level of respect to what's actually happening, too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these DJs, I mean, the songs and the stuff that they're mixing, people don't realize how sometimes technical it is or how much energy that needs to go into it.
Absolutely, like finding that right electronic kick drum to fit the bass
Yes,
idea.
yes.
You know, some of those good, really talented producers spend a lot of time in tweaking the sound, making it so glued together that immediately people start reacting to it.
Yes.
It's like a guitar sound in a Rage Against the Machine song that needs to be that one guitar sound. It's very simple. It's all about living the sound
Yes.
and getting emotionally bounded with it. Of course, there's also some crap, you know, where you immediately hear, hey, this one is much more effective than this.
Yeah.
But, you know,
That'll
for
happen in
any
every-
good thing, there's a bad thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And lucky for us, for any, let's say, playbacking DJ, there's also a very talented live mixing DJ.
Yes.
So, and live playing drummer to a playbacking drummer. So
Yes. And
give and take.
I agree with you. You guys, if you want to see a live drum and bass electronic band, you have to check out Netsky. I just been blown away with the videos that I've seen already. And you're playing here, like, as you can tell, I'm just glowing. This whole time, I'm just glowing this whole lesson just because the energy that you portray just in your explanation of the beats and everything, just insane. So
Thanks. I'm just having fun.
yeah, well, it looks like it, and it's,
Yeah.
it's a blast to have you out. So anytime you're back around Western Canada, you make sure to give us an email. But before I get into the questions, there's one last thing that I wanted to talk about, and that is you play these hour-long, hour and a half long sometimes sessions where you're just going nuts the whole time on a drum and bass set. So how do you build that endurance up for that, or how do you prepare for it?
Well, one of the things you really need to do is how to play a single stroke.
Yes.
I will. Let's say we have a normal acoustic drum set.
Okay.
The most important thing is consistency or stamina.
Yeah.
You can, of course, play a single stroke. When you play it faster, it needs to sound exactly the same. So it's not going to be like this, or not that. No, it needs to be exactly the same. So even if I'm going to the toms, the tempo will stay the same, my left hand will still be consistent. That's a little bit of the influence of electronic drum computers. They all sounded like machine guns.
Yeah.
But when you go into a drum and bass thing, you also have very particular beats that need to play consistent. So for instance, this backing, you know, the backbeat needs to be there every time, so people can clap on it.
Yeah.
And that's just playing along with loops and a click. To get your body into this, it's like jogging. Once you start going, next day you go a little bit further, and automatically your body starts finding its own tempo. Same thing here. Now, the next thing you need to do is, of course, find a way to make those beats not only very consistent, but also very interesting, depending on climax of a chorus, or for instance, a little break. For instance, why not play a right song and a right sound and then have the rest of the loops coming there? That's endurance, because on the right cymbal it will be a little bit more difficult to have this going than on the hi-hat, which is a more stable surface.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, is that
And then, for instance, you go into fills, and the fills is all about single strokes.
Yeah.
We didn't do the foot yet. You didn't incorporate the foot. And then it gets a little bit more interesting. But you need to have that, and you also need to, you know, variate on the levels, on the volumes, and so on. But it's just a good physical workout and taking advantage of the sounds you have. It's practice.
Yeah. So when you do this, like, just set up a click, maybe set up a loop, and you just set a half hour at a time and just single stroke it up, or like what? Any kind of?
I just play songs.
Yeah.
And try to make as many mistakes as possible. And when I get on the live stage, sometimes there will be mistakes, but at that point I need to be focused and not, you know, I need to make help to make people dance. When you play difficult fills, suddenly they stop dancing, I'm out. You know, I will get fired. If you want to play electronic music, you need to enjoy the feeling of playing the same beat for a minute.
That's a good point to add.
2 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's really enjoyable because you get, you know, crowd reaction and it's interactive. So if I'm doing this, and now I will you know, play it with the correct sound. If I'm doing this. And then you have, of course, some music with that.
Yeah.
It's heaven.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
And I was just like, you can't not bob your head. Sitting right here, there's no way you can listen to that without bobbing your head. And that's the whole point, right?
I'm dancing, you're dancing, people are dancing.
I'm sure of it. Yeah.
And in Europe, it's now 1 a.m. in the morning.
And they're still dancing.
Yeah, or drunk.
Or drunk, or both.
Or both. Yeah.
Okay, we got to get to questions. It's almost 5, and we're going to go obviously a little bit later because there's just too much to go through in 1 hour. So, you cool with that?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Okay, I'm just going to start from the top, and I'm going to try and find the questions that are most suitable for this lesson because sometimes we go a little off topic, but we're going to try and stay focused today. Okay, we already talked about that there. Give me 1 sec here. This is from Erwin. Erwin from Belgium asks, is there an electronic kit submitted to wear? Sorry, one sec. Is an electronic kit submitted to wear? I mean, when I see Michael play, he really gives the kit hell. But I suppose if we were to play like that, we might break a couple things in a few months. Subject to wear, I think he meant. And along that same topic, maybe you might want to talk about why you put that tape there too on your snare, because I'm sure
we're actually testing with Roland. I'm also a little bit involved in.
Okay.
We're testing some new rubber things, you know, experimenting all the time. This is actually, since we're using mesh heads since 1997, I never broke one mesh head.
Really?
Never.
And you, yeah.
It's you know, it's of course. I will not play this energetic or this hard, hit the pads this hard on a smaller kit, because your body adapts to the surface. But on this one, I can really go right, you know, I can put pictures of my enemies on there and really have fun punching those faces. I know who it is, but anyway. The most important thing is that you, of course, since you're playing electronic, I can really go very energetic, because I'm also not bothering anyone with too much noise. So that's another big... on an acoustic drum set, I am, of course, a loud player.
Yeah.
Because I don't make a difference physically between playing a full beat on an acoustic set and on this one. But on this one, to the sound enjoyment I have, I can go a little bit deeper. And this way also, you know, live the music a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, it's good. It's cool that you said that.
So the wearing, sorry that I interrupt, but the wearing of the gear, there is no wearing. Otherwise, I wouldn't play like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to break my own drum set all the time.
No, of course. And you're definitely digging into there. And it's funny you say the fact that you play louder on an electric kit, or you play pretty heavy on an electric kit. I know a lot of electric kit drummers play lighter, because they don't need to, you know, they don't need to hit loud for the sound, right?
That's the thing. You can actually adjust the triggering sensitivity. So in this TD30 module, I have the triggering sensitivity adjusted to my playing. So I want to be a full 127 velocity value on when I hit hard. I don't want it to be the full volume already when I'm only at 50%.
Yeah.
So I really need to be moving to get at that level. That's.
Did you set that up differently than the factory settings? Did you go up and tweak those
I adjusted a little bit.
Yeah,
of course. Yeah.
Cool. Gil Flores says, I bought the Roland KX12 before the Supernatural feature was added. Am I missing a lot by not having it? And if so, is there a way to make up for it?
Actually, a very important difference between the TD12 and these latest Supernatural modules is the processor. And the processor also, with the processor comes a completely new software. The processor is so powerful, and it's been developed by Roland itself. It's not that they're buying chips somewhere. It's a specific drum triggering processor.
Okay.
So this means that just by changing the module on his electronic kit, he will have the same incredible step forward on his older pads. So he can just exchange the module for TD11, TD15 or TD30 and just have those same supernatural feelings on his older pads as well.
Do you think it's worth the upgrade if he just bought it like the year before?
If he's gonna play the music of today with some of the acoustic and electronic sound mix, you know, possibilities of today, of course, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. But he can get along with this. He can get along with this TD12 for years if he wants. But it depends, you know, if he wants to evolve as a drummer using electronic kits on a stage with, you know, playing dubstep or drum and bass or tech house, the sounds of today.
Yeah.
Of course, with the new processing, also brings new sounds and new possibilities.
Yeah. I have to admit, I did play on the 30 a couple times now, and I was surprised at how different it sounded from the 20.
It you know, with the
felt, not sounded, felt.
A TD12 or a TD20, they're still amazing modules.
Yeah.
But it's like with computers, you know, if you buy a latest laptop with quad-core processing, of course it will be much more fun to do many things more than on an old single-core running whatever software from before.
Yeah, good analogy.
Yeah.
Reclo87 says, is there a song that you played in the very beginning of this a lesson on sale? Is it on iTunes or a CD?
Actually, the song I started with is a personal composition of mine that is actually a preset song in the TD-15.
No way.
Yeah. It's
Very
the preset
cool.
song. It's called All Night.
Yeah.
And you can find it also on the vdrumsfriendjam.com, which is a software by Roland, which is downloadable for free. And it's one of the tracks in there you can play along with.
So it's vdrumsjam.
vdrumsfriendjam.com.
Okay. Sounds good. So go and download that for sure.
Yeah. And if not, he can pop me a message on my Facebook artist page, and I will send the MP3.
Yes, for sure. And you can find that Michael Schack drummer, Michael Schack.
Drummer Michael Schack on Facebook.
There you go. Find him and like him for sure.
Yeah, it's available and it's totally yours.
Yes. This is a question here from Sarah Man. Says, do we have to change our drumstick size when we're playing an electric kit?
No.
Absolutely.
That's a big misunderstanding. There's a lot of people that think that they have to wear different socks and shoes and drumsticks.
Like nylon tips or
I'm
whatever.
playing these Vic Firth, a little bit customized 5Bs, both on my acoustic set and on the electronics.
5B, eh?
Yeah, I'm not changing my stick size ever. My
Okay.
shoe size either.
Your shoe size either.
No.
Yeah.
Just, and actually with the V-drums, this is very important actually, this question. Thank you.
Yeah.
With the V-drums, you're using your own personal tools. The same drumsticks, the same pedals as on your acoustic kit. I'm using here Tama. And it just gives me the same feeling as on my acoustic kit because I'm using the same tools. It's very simple.
Yeah. Nicola asks, how much does this kit cost?
Next question.
Next question. Michael doesn't pay for this kit. What are you talking? Actually, we have Jay, who's the Roland rep, and he's in the back studio. Jay, you there? You got the mic there?
I'm here. I got the mic here.
Can you hear?
$79.99.
$79.95. Cheap.
Man, I'm gonna come and live in Canada then.
Yeah, Canada, it's cheaper. But so $79.95. What about the SPDS, Jay?
$829.
$829, and then the SPD 30?
$719.
$719.
Yeah. And also, very important to mention, it's not very complicated to start playing because the SPDSX, as well as the TD30 as the SPD30, this is actually version 2 that just came out. They all have pre-programmed drum sets and kits for any kind of music you want to start with. And you can start from there to make to personalize them all.
Cool. I have the old 3 or 4 year old model of the SPDS. I love it. I didn't know you can do 2 over top, like a vocal track over top of one.
Well, yeah.
Really cool. I got to get the new one now. Okay.
You want me to show you this to you?
Yeah, just leave it here when you leave, and I'll just take care of it.
I can show you how to incorporate the vocal with.
I definitely want to do that.
It's a little bit it's a
Do you
little
want me
bit
to change this?
Yeah. So I'm using the mix-in even for my personal monitoring. So I'm a big fan of Whitney Houston.
Okay.
I admit.
Who isn't?
She was an incredible singer. She went swimming and she's not there anymore. But the thing about these great vocalists out there, you can do really interesting stuff with it. For instance, I have this one. This is typically mashup, okay?
It's not right, but it's okay. I'm gonna make it anyway. Have your back up and leave. Don't you dare come running back to me. It's not right, but it's okay.
So I used some DJ thing with Whitney Houston. For instance, another thing, this is also a really nice one. I like it a lot. For instance,
So cool.
yeah.
Okay, another question here from Bruno says, can we program our own sequence on the TD30KV?
Yes, you can just connect the keyboard, play your own bass line with the internal sounds. You can put on a second track, for instance, a piano chord line, and there you go. I can of course do my own version.
Okay.
This is how it would sound. It's really interesting. Dave Drumeo, I like you so much. Still, I think you look funny, yeah. Thank you very much for watching. I even have string sounds. Whatever. Yeah.
Cool.
Just so you can play those, you can program those chords and then play them with the cymbals.
Very, very cool. I know there's so many cool things you can do with that. We're running out of time, though. We only got time for a couple more questions. So I apologize for all of you who do not get your question answered. If you guys want, we do this every day for you guys who aren't Edge members, and we definitely have time for all the questions during the week. But on Mondays, because we have hundreds of people watching at a time, we can't get to all of them. So a couple more, and then we'll call it a night. This one here is from Mark Williams. Says, awesome, Michael. Thanks, Dave and Drumeo. Michael, is your snare on a regular snare stand to keep it from falling? My Roland TD8 snare stand starts moving, and it starts to angle down when I hit too hard. I have to keep adjusting it.
Gaffer tape.
Gaffer tape.
No, I'm using a normal snare stand, and it's perfectly. I actually hit that hard that it just stays there. It's very simple. It's the opposite from your problem, apparently.
Yeah.
But you really have to tension the balls on the TD8. I think I remember it's actually not a separate snare stand, but it's actually a snare holder. Just tighten it up, and normally it should stay there. I used to play the TD8 at the end of the 90s myself, and I think it was okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I never had a problem. I had a TD8 as well, and those are the ones that have the snare stand that comes off of the actual.
Just really get those, how do you call it? Screws really tight.
And in Belgium, they use gaffer tape, and in Canada, we use duct tape. So duct tape it if that doesn't work.
And also, there's plenty of memory lock systems out there in the shops. You just add the memory lock, put your snare holder against it, it will lock itself, tighten both, and it'll stay.
Or just get a friend to hold it up during a set underneath. That always works too, right? No? It works for me. Sonia has a good question.
You have to pay him. And,
just give him a couple bucks, right? Give him a few beers. Sonia says, what advice would you give for playing with a DJ or electronic artist? How do you make it sound, how do you not make it sound like an electronic mess? A couple tips would be great. First
of all, practice with the DJ. And really play on top of music that actually can take some drums on top of there. If there's already too many drum information, too much drum information in the track, of course it will sound like a mess, because you should actually keep it, just play the same thing, because otherwise it will add more things and it will blubber and people. What do I have to dance to? To the DJ or to the drummer? What is it?
Yeah.
So, and second, if you want to play like, with the DJ, you should play like the DJ tracks sound sometimes. So this means... No ghost notes, just 8 notes, just the kick, right there. That's why I use that exercise. You know those killer beats?
Yep.
One important thing, everything has to be at the same time on the same spot. Not off the one, not before the one, on the one. And then keep this on the one together with the DJ, and it should work. But it also depends on the DJ.
Yeah, that's true. Very cool tips. One last question, guys. Here we go. From HRI Twick. Says, hey, great lesson, guys. He says, what kind of sound box or speakers would you prefer for an electronic drum set?
That's a very good question, and it's actually a bit trial and error. Like, for instance, I have a studio myself where I work, with the practice room, and I looked for a good PA set for quite some time. I'm not going to tell you which one I got, because it's kind of a secret, otherwise you will be able to copy my sounds and everything. But the most important thing, And that's also something I stress when I go to dealers or to drum festivals when I do demos. The subs and the satellites, preferably active, preferably no limiting. So this means that you don't need too much digital processing to be there in those active amps of the subs and the satellites, because it will actually totally f up your sound. Sorry to use the word. But also very important, subs in stereo for me and the satellites in stereo.
Yeah.
There's no way you can make a nice broad-sounding drum sound with, for instance, only the satellites going stereo and the subs going mono, because also in my low end, I spend a lot of time on getting the right panning on the toms. So I want the tom. But then, like with an acoustic set, I want the low end coming from that side. Okay? So this broadens your sound, and go for a good, decent PA system or sound system that really enables you to play fully stereo.
Yeah.
That's a big start.
Cool. Well, we'll leave it at that.
Can I play one more thing?
I'm going to make you play us out. So
because we talked about drum and bass and everything, but we actually didn't do a musical example.
Well, that's exactly what I
and
want
there
you to
was
do.
this question about playing along with the DJ. Okay?
Okay.
So what I did, this is actually part of our Square Electric with Steve and I am doing. You're welcome to check it out on YouTube as well. I got rid of the drums. It's a lot of tweaking and editing and mashing up, and you know, it's trial and error. And then the right drum sound in there, and then a build-up and party time. And thank you for watching.
Hey, thanks for coming out. Michael, you're welcome here anytime. Check him out on Facebook, drummer Michael Schack. He's got a website as well. Check out Netsky. They're incredible. If you had a chance to see him live, he's going to be the guy drumming for him. And I'll leave it at that. Michael, play us out.
This is for you guys.
Tap, tap, tap.